Do you think then the underlying, if you like boil it all down, and I'm sure we'll talk about this at the end when we get through things too, but almost what you just said, is it just comes down to like that work ethic? Is it just you're willing to work harder than anyone else in most situations?
This for success, people got to understand, I'm a high school dropout, 16-year-old education, right? But I have a lot of street smarts and I have a lot of common sense and I have a second to none work ethic. And so I bought a house when I was 20 years old. I paid a 12% interest, 12.5% interest on an $81,000 house because I read an article that said I needed to buy a house. I didn't know I had never heard of a mortgage. I had never heard of equity. I didn't know what an interest payment was. I didn't know what any of those things were, but I read this article and it talked to me about how to make money and how to plan for the future, buy a house. So I went out at 12.5% interest, not having any idea that that was a high number or low number. I mean, in my day, this is in the late 80s, early 90s. That was the going rate, but I didn't have any concept that how these systems worked, but I was interested in them and I wasn't afraid to ask questions. And so then I went out and learned, but I say that to say my work ethic is crazy. 16, 18-hour days is nothing to me. And I did it for years and years and years. I mean, I had a major competitor go out of business in my 4th year after starting my company. And I went in there and I worked 8 days on a 45-minute nap on the 3rd day. My management group was going home on 18-hour shifts, sleeping for 6 hours and coming back. But we hired 51 people in a month and grew $2.5 million on an annualized basis. I had to take advantage of that opportunity, but it was nothing to me because I stole food as a kid to eat. So whatever sacrifice I got to do, I drug a 10-inch screwdriver out of my back from a mugging behind a bowling alley. I mean, compared to those things, whatever I had to go do didn't matter. But that work ethic taught me everything. Well, excuse me, let me say this again. That work ethic gave me the ability to learn everything that I needed to. Doesn't mean I learned it firsthand and right away and didn't make mistakes. I absolutely did, but I was always thirsty.
Why do you think you had that level of thirst? Like a lot of people went through what you went through, and we'll have to talk about so many of your stories, but like went through so many of those things. There aren't that many people who went through that who are in the position that you're in today. Right? A lot of people go the other direction.
That's a complicated question on a couple of fronts, but just directly, I have 8 brothers and sisters, so I'm child number 7. My mother had 6 kids when she was 23 years old, and she brought home the baby, the brand new infant, and at home she had a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5-year-old. 6 children, right? 3 in diapers. My dad gone for weeks at a time and then would come back. It was just insane. And so 7 years later, I was born. And then I have a little brother and a little sister because they didn't want me to be an only child. Again, abject poverty. So in a way, I got to watch my older brothers and sisters, everybody got pregnant as teenagers and everybody went to jail and dealt drugs. And again, violence was everywhere. And, we just had these lives. Nobody went to college. There's no expectations, none of those things because you're poor. And so in a way, I didn't avoid all of that, but I never did drugs. Let me start here. I never smoked because I watched my brother smoke and it led to drinking. And I never drank because I watched them drink and it led to drugs. And so I never did drugs because that led to jail, kind of in that order. And somewhere, somehow, in all of that, I was able to kind of put it together that wasn't for me. And so I avoided all that. I've never done, I've drank 24 times maybe in my life, but I'm not a drinker, I'm not a smoker, I never did drugs. So I was able to avoid those trappings by watching them and seeing what not to do, getting pregnant as teenagers, all of that. I was just able to avoid that. And so I had that, call it an influence, call it again, that street smarts that said, I can, it doesn't have to go this way. And that played a big part of it because when you are poor, no one wants you to get out. Your family doesn't want you to get out. The community doesn't want to get you out. Your teachers, your counselors, no one around you. There's not a lot of help where if you're born in that, and it doesn't black, white, Asian, Hispanic, it didn't matter. The neighborhood, we all had one thing in common. We were all poor. And so if you escape that or you even think about getting out, they're going to try consciously and subconsciously to pull you back. Because if you're going to blow up their whole world, if all of a sudden the guy who raised the same way, went through the same stuff, had none of the same or law, did not get advantaged in any way the same as us, if he can get out, my whole blame victim narrative gets blown up. And so they will try to pull you back only because if you get out, they can't legitimately and honestly say to themselves, hey, it's some guy back east that screwed me over's fault. It's the man's fault for screwing me over. Or my mother didn't love me, or my dad was never home, or, whatever excuse you put there. I never ascribed to that. I never did. I never saw those boundaries. I wasn't aware that I didn't realize that those boundaries were there. I was just like, man, I got to keep going. I got to just keep pushing.